Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, Opie marries his girlfriend despite warnings from his family. On their honeymoon in Hawaii, he catches her making out with a tour guide. He leaves her stranded on the island and files for divorce upon returning home. She realizes her mistakes but faces the consequences. Her parents and friends are disappointed, and she spirals into reckless behavior, seeking attention online. Now let's get into the story. My ex, 23 female, and I, 27 male, had her honeymoon in Hawaii. My family was well off while hers wasn't. That didn't matter to me. And even though my parents warned me to watch out for this girl, I didn't. She seemed very genuine and sweet while dating. She always wanted to see me, even if it was as simple as a walk in the park. She hung on to my every word and asked me really smart and observant questions. I was studying to be a lawyer, so I was very busy with school, work, and reading for that reason. Much of the time we spent together was in silence, her lying on my lap while I worked. I took her on a few classy dates and went to dinner and a show, an upscale restaurant, and horseback riding. She was really wooed by the date on horseback because I already had the trail memorized in my head. I admit I was showing off a bit. That's when she met my parents, and they warned me about her. I don't know how, but it's like they saw right through her genuinely interested charade. They told me she just wanted the money. I promised she didn't actually know me or what I liked. She only talked about herself and what she wanted. I admitted she was lighthearted and didn't take much seriously, but I thought that's what made us a good match. She could help balance me out and encourage me to have fun. Sometimes when we talked on the phone, she would mention other men in her class and I'd just roll my eyes. I wondered if she did this to make me jealous or if she was trying to see how possessive I was of her. I had a serious conversation with her around 2.5 years of dating. I asked her if she knew how serious I was about her and if she felt the same. She said yes and swore I was the only one she wanted to love. I could tell she wanted to say it for the rest of her life, but she stopped because she didn't want to spoil any proposal. Around our 3rd anniversary, I graduated and regretfully proposed. During the wedding planning and even on our honeymoon, she was very selfish. As we tanned on the beach, she actually had the nerve to say she was bored and missed her friends. I had a wonderful time in Hawaii, swimming with dolphins, snorkeling, bar hopping, club dancing, and having amazing intimacy with my new wife. This was like a celebration of life for me. I was finally done with school and married the woman I saw a future with. We were on a tour of the island when all the magic and excitement I had for the future disappeared. The tour concluded and I was gazing at the view when I noticed my wife wasn't standing by my side. It took me 10 minutes to find her making out with the tour guide in a secluded, overgrown area. I yelled her name in disbelief, asking what the heck she was doing. She pulled away from the kiss, shocked. I found them, but not guilty or remorseful. She was smirking and put her hands up saying I caught them. The tour guide apologized and quickly left my death stare. I told her this was exactly what I was afraid of, that she didn't understand how serious and long-term marriage is. She said something like, "Come on, it's not that big of a deal. It was just a short makeout session for being a great tour guide." She didn't think it should affect me or our marriage at all. I told her she couldn't be more wrong. I left her there yelling after me. I hailed a cab and went to the touring office. I filed a report with the tour guide's name on it and caused so much of a scene that the manager came out and promised me he'd be fired. I walked back to the hotel for all my stuff and called to cancel her credit cards. Leaving her on the island without money was the only way to get through to her without doing this. I don't think she ever would have realized how bad it was to make out with someone else on her honeymoon. She only called me once before I got on the plane. When I turned off airplane mode, I had 78 missed calls and 10 voicemails. She was in shock that I left her there, and then she was scared when she realized her credit cards didn't work. We hadn't even added her name to my bank account yet, but I had enough of her information to cancel her credit cards. In the first voicemail she left, she said that she didn't know what she did to deserve this. As it turns out, this wasn't the first time she made out with someone while she was with me. She only made out with the tour guide because he did an excellent job and deserved a unique tip. A few voicemails later, she said how sorry she was and promised me that now she understood the severity of kissing another person. It still sounded like she was trying to convince herself how serious it was. What she really wanted was to convince me to come back for her, or at least buy her a plane ticket home and forget all about this. She said she still wanted to be my wife and hoped I would forgive her like a good husband would. I never responded to any of this. I was a lawyer and I refused to play her games. I filed for divorce as soon as I landed. She stopped calling me, and I eventually found out she was at her parents' house. I heard through the grapevine that she expected a warm welcome and consolation from them after being stranded in Hawaii, but they only scolded her for losing a good husband so quickly. Her parents were ashamed of her selfish actions and weren't afraid to tell her how badly she messed up. Her friends also tried giving her a dose of reality by refusing to trust her. No one invited her to group outings because they were afraid she'd start making out with their boyfriend. She still complained and started leaving her parents in the middle of the night to hang out with strangers. She posts ridiculous videos online of her drinking too much, making out with people, and having a good time, as she puts it. Today's second story. In this story, a 45-year-old man met his 32-year-old girlfriend in a bar, despite their age gap. He became deeply involved with her and her teenage son, offering them a home when they faced eviction. However, his trust was shattered when he caught her cheating and discovered her desire for an open relationship. Eventually, he gained custody of the son, realizing the woman wasn't ready for commitment or stability. Now let's get into the story. I, 45 male, met my girlfriend, 32 female, in a bar. Considering our age difference, I was surprised. She gave me the time of day. She made it pretty clear she was into older guys and all that. I was skeptical and thought she must be taking advantage of me, but I had to give her a chance and get to know her. We went on several dates where she offered to pay for me. I never let her, but I was glad she paid for herself. I treated her to a few things. After we dated for 5 months, that's when she told me she had a 14-year-old son. I was pretty upset with her for failing to tell me this. He lived with her, but he slept over his friends' houses a lot. That's what she told me. That just sounded weird, like she had to say that, so I'd feel less of a burden. I was already falling hard for her at this point. We've been dating for months and everything seemed even and fair. She had her own place to live and didn't ask me for money. I knew she wasn't seeing anyone else, and I felt like she was serious about our relationship and wanted to find a father figure for Steven. So we dated for 3 more months. Within that time, I met Steven and we did a few things with the 3 of us together. He was distant and didn't care very much, but I understood that it made me wonder how many men his mother dated, since his father was out of the picture. I asked her when I felt like it was an opportune moment, but she was still offended. She said she was only with 2 men after his father left. Somehow I didn't believe her, or at least thought she was downplaying how badly these relationships ended. Had she made it seem like these men were going to be his new father, only for it to end suddenly? I was scared, but to be truthful, I was already committed to this relationship, and even the boy. I was getting older and I had no children of my own. I wanted to be a father figure to someone, and here was my opportunity. We dated for just another month before they were being evicted from their apartment. This was scary, but only because I realized how much I cared about them and how willing I was to help them in their time of need. They moved into my house. I cherished this house because I grew up in it, and my parents left it to me. It had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a long driveway, and about 2 acres around it. I was taking a huge chance to let this woman and her boy move in with me, but it was what I wanted. We immediately started family game nights and conversations over home-cooked meals. I was amazed at how well and natural we all came together over 2 years. I was a father figure to Steven. He actually wanted to do things with just me and him. We went fishing, to arcades, to the beach, and other more everyday places like Home Depot. I taught him as much as I could when it came to home repairs and fix IT projects. His mother and I had a great relationship consisting of communication, laughter, and lovemaking. About a year after they moved in, she started going out with friends from work. While I watched Steven, I should have checked her phone every once in a while or something. I thought it would be weird to ask, even though I saw some sheepish behavior on her part. Her form was like her lifeline. She needed it for work, and our relationship was based on trust. I didn't feel like being her parent, checking her phone, or asking her questions. One night, Steven was sleeping over at a friend's house, and I was late coming home from work. I told my girlfriend I wouldn't be home until 12 a.m. when my replacement came in, but our boss actually came in around 9:15. When he heard I was stuck there so late, he covered the gap for me. I was relieved and happy on the way home to surprise my girlfriend in an empty house. When I arrived, I unlocked the door and walked inside to find my girlfriend and AP frantically dressing in the living room. The couch bed was pulled out, and they were halfway through watching a movie. My girlfriend just kept cursing and told AP to leave so she could talk to me, hoping that would make me let him go peacefully. I did because all my anger was towards her. I screamed at her, asking what the hell she was thinking. I asked if they had intimate. She wanted to say no, but it was very obvious that was a lie. She knew she couldn't lie. She knew I wouldn't believe her. I just caught her naked with another man, lounging like they had until midnight. Before I got home, my girlfriend tells me that she's been wanting to talk to me about having an open relationship where we can each bring back anyone we want to sleep with. I screamed my disbelief. This was disgusting and not what I pictured. When I imagined the family we were starting, I told her to get out, but she begged me to let them stay. I told her I didn't say anything about Steven leaving. She was very upset and told me she wouldn't allow her son to stay here without her. I asked her why she was so selfish. Selfish enough to cheat on me, selfish enough to want to have intimate with more men, and selfish enough to bring her son out onto the streets with her, when she knew she could trust me with him and he'd be safe. Well, it felt like my words struck her, but she insisted she was going to pick him up the next day when he got back from his friend's house. In order to get her out, I agreed, but when he came back after his mother was gone, I told him what was going on. He said he wasn't surprised, just upset because his mom did this before she came to pick him up, but he returned to me a day later. He sent his mom already moved them in with another man, so he ran away. It only took her a day to move into a stranger's home. Over dinner, I asked Steven how many men his mother dated after his father was out of the picture. He was saddened and told me his mom was with a lot of guys. To keep a long story short, his mom tried to come back for him, but I went through a legal process to prove she was an unstable and a poor parental figure. Her son was old enough to choose who he wanted to live with, and he chose me. They don't have a relationship to this day, and it's not because I won't allow it. It's because Steven hasn't felt like returning her calls or Facebook messages. As terrible as this relationship turned out to be, with all the emotional pain and needless torment, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I was strong enough to take a chance and try to become the man they needed in their life. It worked for Steven, but not his mother. She wasn't ready to meet one man and stick with him, not even if it meant stability for her son.